Well, here's Easton Stick in Saluki Stadium getting ready for another tough Missouri Valley Conference matchup as the Bison's #1 defense in the conference takes on the Southern Illinois Salukis' #1 offense in the conference. Should be a tough matchup. Happy Halloween and welcome to the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show. I'm your host, Chris Fowler, today for Halloween.
Oh, no.
Who did you dress up as?
I dressed up as not somebody who's going to call themselves Chris
We'll
Fowler.
call you Kirk Herbstreit. How about today?
He's got more hair than I do.
The Herbie Man. This is Alex Egan. I'm Chris Berg. Our analyst DJ Colter is going to be joining us in just a few minutes. We've got our entire team in Carbondale as well. We'll be walking you right up to the game today as we break down today's game. But first, we're going to begin with a look at last week, the beginning of the Easton Stick era with a win over Indiana State.
Yeah, Stick became the first 100-yard rusher for the Bison this season, finishing with 124 yards on the ground and 2 scores, as well as throwing for 126 yards through the air and 1 more touchdown. But it wasn't just Stick. The rest of the Bison showed up and played well, too. Coach Kleiman, he was giving high praise to the defense, the offensive line, the special teams, specifically Ben LeCompte, who probably had his best game of the season on punting and kickoffs. It was a great team win, especially considering they were coming off a loss at home to South Dakota and the news of losing their starting quarterback for the rest of the regular season. That's a pretty big blow in itself. This team, they could have just folded up and said, hey, you know what, we'll try again next year, but they didn't. And I think it says a lot about the character of this team.
I completely agree with you. It was a great team win. Hopefully, though, we don't see Easton Stick run on the rock 17 times again today. You can see here the schedule, obviously. They've only got 2 losses, which I say only because there's, been some close games, but they're playing well. And today, tough matchup against Southern Illinois. They are 3-0 at home this year, meeting Southern Illinois, and they definitely know how to put points on the board. So with that, let's take a look at the Missouri Valley Conference and have the lay of the land right now. Looks like Illinois State may be crowned sole champion this year. Yeah,
and they're playing Indiana State right now at home in Normal, Illinois, and Illinois State is up in that game at last check. I think they were leading 9-0 in that game. You take a look at these conference standings. NDSU, yes, they are 5-2 and they've lost a game in the conference, but they're still in second place. Western Illinois, obviously a really good team. We'll see them in a couple weeks.
I was going to say, next week. I don't want to get ahead of myself here because today is a tough matchup, obviously in Carbondale, but next week is Western Illinois, correct, in the Dome? Yeah,
and it's a team that has been playing really well. They had a big loss against Illinois State last weekend. Illinois State, they were tough. That game was tied in the third quarter, and then Illinois State started to pour it on there at the end. But Western Illinois is no joke this year. They're sitting at 3-1. They've got a tough test today. I think they're at Youngstown State today, if I'm not mistaken. And that's not easy. I mean, Youngstown isn't very good this year, but you never know what Youngstown team you're going to get. But that's still not easy to go on the road and pick up wins in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Doesn't matter who you're playing. Even if you're playing Missouri State, it's not easy to go on the road and win.
Look at USD. USD taking on Northern Iowa today. Who would have thought that would actually be, quote-unquote, a game to look at today, but it is going to be one to watch.
And your boys are only sitting at 1-3 in the
let's move on to the Northland Ford Dealers tailgate report. Beth Hool is in Carbondale with us. Beth, what do you have for us?
All right, guys. Thanks for having us out here. We're joined by Cam Peterson's father and grandfather, a couple of football guys yourselves. You guys have a great setup here. I've been able to join you guys at a couple of tailgates now on the road. Just tell me a little bit about kind of maybe your guys' routine as you guys get ready to watch Cam in a game.
The routine starts early in the week. It starts with planning with food and beverages and joining good friends that we've met here in Fargo, and the whole experience has been outstanding, second to none, and it's been just a pleasure. So what we do is we try to bring good luck to the kicker every now and then. So fingers crossed, we try to bring in 36 cookies, so when 36 goes on the field, boy, oh boy, keep cheering and praying. And, of course, we have some goalposts here that hold beverages. And beverages are important as well. So.
Well, and it's good because it starts to get cold at this point in the season. You don't want to have to hold the drink.
No.
Because then your hands get really cold. So that's good. Now, Grandpa, I know you've been involved with football for a long time, coached a long time, all of that. Just talk about how proud you are of Cam and just his opportunity to make a difference here so early with the Bison.
It's been a great ride. The kid has done everything to put himself in this position. We're so pleased that he's at North Dakota State, and he brings out just the best in all of our family. We get together. It's just an awesome time, and just so proud of what he's done.
Well, let's all make sure we grab a 36 cookie here. Guys, that's it for our tailgating report out here in Carbondale, Illinois. We'll catch up with you later.
Man, we got to get ourselves some cookies.
Beth, bring
as
back
well.
some cookies,
Exactly.
please. It's not that far of a trip, I know. Just bring back some cookies for us. That would be great.
Thank you, Beth. Plenty more ahead coming up here on the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show. DJ and I are going to take you inside the film room, take a look at some quarterback play from last week, and when we come back, we're going to take you out to Carbondale. Beth is going to get some final thoughts from NDSU Bison head football coach Chris Kleiman. Stay with us.
So I just got to continue to get more comfortable and understand that, you know, you got to stand in there and kind of decide when you need to force stuff and make plays and when you got to take what's given to you. So it's just going to be a thing where I'm going to try to just keep getting better every week. You know, I got to improve and be more efficient every week.
You are looking at some tailgaters here right outside Saluki Stadium as we are less than an hour away from kickoff between the Bison and the Salukis. Big news here, Southern Illinois has yet to lose at home this season. Should be a great, I think this is going to turn into a track meet. DJ Coulter with us, our analyst. We'll get his thoughts on it in just a moment. First, well, by the way, welcome back to the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show. We want to take you back out to Carbondale, get some final thoughts from Coach Chris Kleiman for the Bison, and take the field from our very own Beth Houle. Beth?
Hey, thanks, guys. All right, Coach Kleiman, obviously coming into this week, the defensive ends are awfully banged up. How are you guys feeling going into this one, and are those linebackers ready? Did they get the reps they needed this week?
Well, you know, we didn't get Menard the reps that he needs, but he's going to try to play. Brad Ambrosius is nicked up. He's going to try to play. But it is what it is. It's the middle of the Valley season, and the guys that are backups that played well last week at Indiana State are going to get the majority of the snaps. And, hey, that's the hand we're dealt. Let's go play.
Offensively, obviously, last night we talked about the running backs being a little bit banged up, but how did Easton do this week lining up with those receivers? Probably the healthiest group in your entire lineup.
Yeah, I thought it was another week where we progressed, and you know, I know he's going to feel more comfortable. I know the receivers are going to feel more comfortable with the offensive line. You know, it's his second game. Now he's 7 or 8 full practices into the starting role, and I think his production will be better.
Is time of possession the game winner today?
Absolutely. You know, turning the ball over, we've got to find a way on defense to create a couple, and we can't do it on our end offensively. And then, yeah, the best defense against a no-huddle spread offense is to see him stand on the sideline. So for us, and they're going to try to do a lot of different things defensively to us, but we have to be able to figure it out and still be able to run the ball.
Thanks so much for your time, Coach. Guys?
Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Coach. DJ, your thoughts? I think Coach Kleiman nailed it there. They're going to have to run the football today in order to be effective and win this football game.
Yeah, and Easton has some confidence now. That was a big win for him. You know, now he's going to progress, I think, in the passing a little bit more. This is a game where we can see the Bison take off the handcuffs, and we can see some points put up today.
It's going to be a track meet. DJ and I right now are going to take you into the film room and break down some of the plays last week of Easton Stick as we kick off the Easton Stick era of him being at quarterback. All right, as we head into the Easton Stick era, DJ and I want to break down a couple plays really focused on Easton from last week. We're going to show you his first touchdown run. Great play, and exactly why Coach Kleiman always talks about why a running quarterback can cause such fits for a defense. And we're also going to show you, hey, where can this young man progress? We're going to show you his interception, which for a first game, those things are going to happen. But if you notice where he wants to be at the end of the season, starting next year, we're going to share with you that as well. How we're going to do this is show you the plays, one in real time, then in slow-mo, so DJ and I can break them down. Here's his first touchdown run ever in real time. You can see here, great block by Chase Morlock, which we're going to highlight in just a moment. And then obviously he beats the safety there himself, no problem. Now in slow motion, what we want to take a look at here is how Chase, because one of the things that Coach Kleiman always talks about is the value of having a running quarterback. What this does now is it really gives you kind of that extra blocker and then frees you up so the quarterback just has to beat one guy. And watch, DJ, what happens here with Chase Morlock, obviously leading the charge. I'm going to pause it here, but there's 2 guys coming up on Chase right about in here, and watch what Chase does to those guys. He takes out both of them, which you can see opens the hole, frees up Easton Stick, and now what he's got to do is what he's about to do right here, which is what to the free safety, DJ? Whoop!
The best thing is also don't forget the O-line was great man-on-man with the tight end there. Easton's greatest strength is his running ability, and that's what the Bison need to do is get him in that set as much as possible.
But they don't need him running the rock 17 times a game. Now let's look at where Easton can obviously grow as a quarterback. Again, it was his first start. You're going to have some, challenges, some mistakes. We want to break down the interception he had. If we can show this to you in real time as well. Notice the DB that was out there over Shep and how he makes a great play. So let's obviously give this young man some credit. He makes a great play there. But I do want to share with you when Easton drops back kind of what he should potentially be focused on so he doesn't make these kind of mistakes in the future. If we can bring this up full screen quickly. When he first gets the ball, his eyes are already looking towards the right side. He should be looking at the middle linebackers. Initially, you can see they're dropping back, DJ. Now he knows, okay, I've got zone. Then he wants to get himself on his eyes on the guy that's over Shep and watch where he goes. Well, he obviously is running out to the flatch, which is his coverage. Zach Vraw here is running a hitch route where you go down about 6 yards and basically just turn around. When you see that outside back or that DB running out to the flats, you go, uh-oh, I don't want to throw this rock. Now I want to replant my feet, because you're going to see in a moment here two guys that are basically wide open. I just missed them, but they were wide open in that little crossing route. So what? Go ahead, sir.
The toughest thing between the transition from high school, remember his last game was in high school a couple years ago. So now you got better athletes on the outside there. And if you're a second too late, just look like he was a second too late. Also his eyes, he needs to try to keep his eyes downfield to the middle. That's tough. He's a freshman. Exactly. He's going to make those mistakes. Bison needs to stick with him. He'll be fine. They'll work with him, transition him.
Don't get me wrong. We're talking about progression here, because obviously oftentimes a hitch route you think is going to be wide open, but we want to see from him when he drops back and you see that backer heading out here, it's like, okay, it's not there. Get my feet replanted and dink it right over the middle there, and they're going to be wide open.
There was a lot of good things in that play. Great protection. I thought his feet, his arm motion, everything else looked good. He's just maybe a second too late in his eyes.
And he'll learn how to work his eyes to obviously work the defense.
He's a great-looking talent, Chris.
To his advantage. All right, speaking about quarterbacks, we got a great story coming up next about Randy Hedberg, North Dakota native, former NFL quarterback, and he knows quite a bit about both the programs that are in the matchup today. That story and much, much more on the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show right after this.
Welcome back. It's the most visible position on the football field, and it's probably the one most people have the most opinions about. And Berg, you know a thing or two, as we just found out, about the quarterback spot.
Just a couple of items, yeah. And the Bison obviously have seen plenty of great QBs through the years, and recently the addition of one coach has really elevated the QB play on the field.
Yeah, it's Randy Hedberg, and he's proving, though, it's not just the quarterbacks that he's coaching, it's the coaches he's coaching as well. Beth Hool sits down with the former NFL QB and finds out to Randy Hedberg, there's no place like home.
Long before Randy Hedberg started mentoring Bison quarterbacks, he himself was an outstanding player, making it to the NFL out of Parshall, North Dakota as an 8th-round draft pick in 1977.
Coming from Parshall into Minot and then going to the larger cities, it was kind of a tougher transition for me, possibly. I wish I could do it over again because of the things I've learned since that time.
Hedberg uses those lessons to mentor Bison quarterbacks, including fellow North Dakota native Carson Wentz to a redding season in 2014. And now he guides redshirt freshman Easton Stick.
He's been awesome for me. He's a nice, cool, calm, collected guy that, nothing's going to rattle him. So it's always good, whether we're in the practice field or in the meeting room. He's a level-headed guy and is able to explain stuff to us really well.
Hedberg started his coaching career as a head football coach and spent time as an offensive coordinator over the last 30-plus years, providing key insight in the play-calling game as he taught talent. But NDSU provides him even more opportunities.
It's getting to the point where I want to mentor coaches like I was mentored when I was younger, and hopefully give some of them the experiences I had when I was younger.
For me, for a young coach, I got to rely on just to kind of watch how he goes through the day-to-day. It's important to just kind of see how, he can articulate things and see things on the field.
That opportunity to connect with his fellow coaches and fellow North Dakotans is an important and cherished piece to being a part of the Bison family for Coach Hedberg.
I'm still learning as a football coach, and I go in every day thinking I'm going to continue to learn, and that really has helped me.
Whether it's a member of his coaching staff or his quarterback corps, Coach Hedberg aims to make a difference each day.
Being with him in meetings every day and with all the other quarterbacks, it helps so much, and it definitely, I think we have an advantage here at NDSU with Coach Hedberg.
Already an important mentor for one standout quarterback, his passion for teaching and the willingness to help young, driven talent continues to bring the best of the best to the Bison quarterback room. Reporting for the Bison Football Show, I'm Beth Houle.
And you can catch more stories like this every week on the Bison Football Show with head coach Chris Kleiman, airing live Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. on KX and NBC out west, with a replay every Sunday night after the news on KVLY. And how about this? We'll also throw it up on valleynewslive.com because we're nice like that. Still to come on the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show, Beth Houle and our crew have an insider's look at Southern Illinois. Stay with us.
I enjoy playing North Dakota State. I just, they're good. They bring out the best in you. You have to be at your top of your game to even have a chance to, make it happen. And that goes way back to my playing days. It goes back to being a young coach. That was one of my motivational reasons for getting into coaching is, I wanted to keep competing against North Dakota State.
Welcome back to the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show. You just heard from Southern Illinois head coach Dale Lennon, the Rugby, North Dakota native. He played at the University of North Dakota, and he served as a coach for UND for several years before taking the Southern job. It's a high-powered offense the Salukis are running this year, and you can tell when you look at the numbers. First, we'll take a look at NDSU, and despite 2 losses for North Dakota State, the Bison are still outscoring their opponents by over 10 points and close to 200 yards on the ground, including 243 on the ground last week over Indiana State, 124 of those coming from redshirt freshman quarterback Easton Stick. Now, the Bison are also passing for over 225 yards, but most of those yards are from Carson Wentz. Now, Stick, he went 9 of 20 through the air last week, and I know the Bison coaching staff is working with him to improve those numbers, but the numbers sticking out, the Bison lead the nation in time of possession, averaging over 37 minutes a game. On the flip side, Southern Illinois brings the best offense in the Missouri Valley. They rank 5th overall in the nation, scoring over 40 points a game, and they also average over 500 yards of offense each game, led by Mark Ionati, their quarterback, who is the leading passer, obviously, and also the leading rusher. And the time of possession doesn't favor the Salukis, which means when they score quickly. Now let's go beyond the numbers and back out to Carbondale. Beth Houle is standing by with more on the Salukis. Beth?
All right, thanks, guys. Talking Saluki football here. I mean, coming in, overtime win, kind of fighting their way through the valley like everybody else is. How is SIU football this year, and how's their identity at this point in the season?
Well, you can see that offensively they've been throwing the ball around, putting up some numbers. That's been a little bit different than years past. Defensively, there's been some inconsistencies, but I think the neat thing about last week's win is they had found ways to lose games, Valley games previously, against Western and Indiana State. They were right there, and they just didn't make the plays. Last week, they made the plays.
You mentioned the differences this year. You are a former Saluki football player, played linebacker here, but to see the offense making so much movement and to be moving so quick and throwing the ball so much, what's this like to watch this new identity take shape?
Yeah, so I can give you an idea. 2011 was my senior year. We played here against the Bison, and we defensively, as a linebacker, I don't think they had a first down until the third quarter, but we lost the game 9-3. So to have the offense that Southern has this year, I told the quarterbacks this week, I said, man, we would have killed, but the Bison have done that to everybody. But, having an offense has been a very great compliment. Even, they've been able to score sometimes at will. I think it's a lot more about the system. Mark Ionati, a senior quarterback, has really done a great job as well.
What's it going to take today to beat the Bison? You said they're always tough. You know that firsthand. Yeah. What's it going to take to beat the Bison? I
think that they're going to have to take the Bison out of their game, which is methodical on offense. Time of possession has been huge. I mean, the Bison have held the ball for almost 40 minutes in some games, and I think if Southern can score fast, and get a bigger lead, that may at some point take the Bison out of their game plan, but they have to do that also on the defensive side of the ball by forcing a turnover and getting a quick 6 or something like that.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Connor. We appreciate it. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Beth, and let Connor know it's Bison. Let's bring in the other two members of our pregame show, the guys on the call, Brian Shawn and Lee Timmerman, with their thoughts on Southern Illinois. Hey, guys.
All right, thanks so much, guys. Brian Shawn, Lee Timmerman will have the call coming up for you in just about a half hour from now as Southern Illinois hosts North Dakota State today. And we would be remiss, now that we're at Saluki Stadium, if we did not at least speak to Jerry Kill and how successful he was here. There are some people on campus that didn't even believe football would even still be here at Southern Illinois without him, LT. And certainly the news of him coming down that he's retiring due to some health concerns does strike a chord with some of the fans and staff here.
It certainly does, especially when we're sitting in front of this stadium, which is a very nice stadium that you'll get to see if you haven't seen it in future or in past broadcasts. But, yeah, they credit a lot of the reason that this stadium is here. And as you mentioned, Brian, that football exists because of what Kill was able to create here before he moved on to Northern Illinois and then before going to the Gophers.
Well, Southern Illinois coming in, Dale Lennon even talked about it this week. He goes, maybe I'm having a midlife crisis with the new offense they've installed, the no-huddle look, averaging over 500 a game, and an explosive offense, already 50 explosive plays, more so than they had all of last year.
And the interesting thing about the yards in the over 530, you say that, and it sounds like a lot because it is, but NDSU is in second place in the conference, and that's 111 yards per game less than what the Salukis are averaging. So, yeah, when they get their hands on the ball, it's moving.
Defensively for Southern Illinois, there's been some struggles, certainly up the middle with the linebackers. The strength they believe are their safeties, but there's a lot of new pieces with this SIU defense, and they've struggled a bit.
It looks different, too. If you remember Dale Lennon's 3-4 come at the quarterback, it's not quite that. It's transitioned into something a little bit different. You'll see four-man fronts. You'll see fronts where defensive tackles sometimes will be standing up, so it looks a lot different. You can tell that Coach Lennon is not calling the plays anymore.
All right, we'll see what happens, guys, with Southern Illinois and North Dakota State coming up in just a little bit.
Thanks, guys. Coach Lennon, obviously a tremendous history here in North Dakota from rugby, won a national title up at UND. But let's take a look at his Salukis this year and their schedule. They've lost 4 games, which obviously is the big talking point, but they've lost them all, DJ, by a total of 8 points. And before you comment, I want to take a look at that first game. They dropped a 2-point play to beat Indiana, which, oh, by the way, Indiana was ahead of Ohio State University Buckeyes at the end of the first half when they played.
I mean, look at this offensive numbers. They're not just putting up yards, they're putting up points. It'll be a test for the Bison D today.
Speaking about the offense, we want to show you some plays because one thing that Coach Kleiman continues to talk about this year that obviously causes challenges for the Bison defense is a quarterback that can run. Mark Ionati, we've been talking about him now this entire segment. Not only can he throw, but he can also run. So I'm going to share with you some plays that Southern Illinois runs, and we can bring this up and share with you just how this is going to put a lot of stress on the Bison defense. You can see here, great play, DJ, to obviously run the quarterback read option. You could fake it to the running back here. He can run it, but instead they end up doing this. Fake it to the running back. Oh, let's go up top and drop 6. Then again, we come to the next play here. They're in the perfect position for the quarterback read option, but now they hand it off, and watch what this guy does. Boom. Anytime this year that we've seen, obviously, this offense, where an offense against the NDSU defense, they've got a good quarterback, a good running back. Let's bring this back up full screen, please. And a good wide receiver, it's posed some challenges. This is the famous jet sweep. Again, you can hand it off to this guy in the jet sweep. You can quarterback run, and we're going to see what they do right here when you get a chance to see Ionati's wheels. He clearly can make things happen. Here's the exact same formation. Another fake the jet sweep this time again, but this time they go up top deep, and obviously you can see here the guys wide open. So it's going to be a lot of stress for the defense. If you're Coach Entz, the defensive coordinator, what are you doing to obviously combat this?
I mean, this doesn't look like a Lennon team at all. I mean, usually he's power, stud running backs. They've spent many running backs in the NFL, big old line. All of a sudden they open it up. That freshman running back's a 2 freshman. He is talented. Man, please remember, to run this offense, you got to have the talent at the skill positions. They have it this year.
Yeah, it should be a track meet. And I think that's the thing. We're going to talk more about what obviously the SIU defense could do to possibly counter Easton. But they made us say, hey, go ahead and throw the ball up top. Let's get into a track meet and see who can score the most points. All right, stay with us here on the Farmers Union Insurance Bison football pregame show. Straight ahead, a couple players nicked up this week in practice. We're going to tell you who's expecting to play and who's not in our Sanford injury report.
Getting closer to kickoff between North Dakota State and Southern Illinois. The last time these two teams met last year in Fargo, it was a Bison win, 38-10. Not sure if the Bison could keep the Salukis to just 10 points this week. Welcome back to the Farmers Union Insurance Bison football pregame show. You saw Greg Menard there warming up. We'll talk about him in just a minute, but right now let's go out to Beth Houle in Carbondale. She is standing by with our Sanford Orthopedic Sports Medicine injury report. Hey, Beth.
Hey guys, welcome to your Sanford Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Injury Report. I'm joined this week by Dr. Vern Prohashka. I want to talk to you about AC joints. It's kind of something that we've seen a lot this year in Bison football. How does something like that happen, and how different of an injury can that be for people?
AC is a pretty common injury in football and any kind of contact sport. Usually happens by a direct blow down on the shoulder, and it forces the joint up. So a lot of times you'll see a little bump there where the joint gets sprained. Can come in a lot of varieties, from minor, bothers you just a little bit, to totally unstable that might need surgery.
And so when it's talking about something that could mean surgery, how much does the just treating something like this, how much does it vary per person, and how long can something like this just bother someone?
The vast majority of them are treated non-operatively, but they can take 6-8 weeks to settle down. Most of them feel pretty good in a couple of weeks, where they can start doing more and getting some rehab and strength back. The more unstable ones can bother people off and on forever.
Is there anything you can do for someone like a football player who needs to play on Saturday? Anything you can do to help them out a little bit, or is it just getting it warmed up maybe?
Usually you try to strengthen things so they get more support around the shoulder. They can put extra padding around it. Every once in a while you can do a little local anesthetic injection to just ease the pain of the getting hit, but nothing you can do to speed up the healing.
Oh, too bad on that one, right? Oh, thanks so much for joining us, Doctor. We appreciate it, guys. That's another Sanford Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Injury Report. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Beth. Now let's look at who the Bison have listed on the injury report. The big one here, as I said, defensive end Greg Menard. He missed most of the game against Indiana State last week after injuring his groin. Brad Ambrosius injured his groin this week in practice. Jared Tuska, he's a D-end, suffered an AC joint injury at practice this week. So defensive coordinator Matt Entz saying they will try to get 15 to 20 plays out of these guys, but don't be surprised if you see some linebackers playing in a D-end spot. On the running backs, running back Bruce Anderson was injured in the Indiana State game with bruised ribs. He played just one play in the second half before shutting it down. Coach Kleiman saying last night Anderson may not go at all today, so we'll see what happens. And the man who is making a home on this list, running back Chase Morlock, still nursing a shoulder injury, but he is getting back to 100%. And Lance Dunn is still coming back from a hamstring injury. All right, let's go back out to Beth in Carbondale, having some fun out in the tailgate lot. She has our Northland Ford Dealers tailgate report.
Hey guys, I'm joined by Nate Tanguay's dad here, Brian, correct?
Correct.
All right, well, the parents, travel all over. You guys are from Wisconsin. What's it like to get together with all the parents and come out here and make a trip to Carbondale, Illinois?
It's a fantastic time. Every time we go for the weekend, it just gets better and better. We meet more parents, get to learn their history about where they're coming from, what they're doing. It's just a fantastic time. Just absolutely love being a part of Fargo and NDSU.
You guys have traveled, and you traveled to watch your son play football. Obviously, you probably wouldn't have visited Carbondale, Illinois otherwise.
No,
but you get
true.
very little time actually with your son, so on these trips. But how important is it to have made these friends, and how much does it just become an extended family for you guys?
That's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be an extended family. My son, rooms with a couple of these guys. They've been to our house. He goes to their houses. They're spending weeks and months together. It's just a fantastic time. It's an extension of his high school career, playing college football, and we get to know these people and just absolutely love it.
Now, an extra fun part this weekend, I know some of your friends over here have some birthdays this weekend. Now, how old did you say they were all turning?
They're all turning 42.
42. We got a couple birthday girls and a couple Halloween. How about that? There we go. All right, guys, we're going to toss it back to you guys in the studio. We're going to keep having some fun here with all these parents. See you later.
All right, thanks, Beth. Looks like fun out there. Up next, we're going to hear from the O-line after what can be considered a bounce-back game against Indiana State. Don't go anywhere. We'll be taking you right up to kickoff. Welcome back, Chris. A group of guys you have really been focusing on the past few weeks are the guys on the Bison offensive line.
The Rams got to be Ram tough, and in order for the Bison to be successful today, Alex, in my opinion, they're going to have to establish the run, be able to run the football. And I think most importantly, really keep the football out of the hands of this explosive SIU offense.
Yeah, Coach Kleiman was pleased with their play this last week against Indiana State, especially since, and they'll be the first to tell you, they didn't have a good game in the loss to South Dakota. But the Rams went back to the basics, and they're hoping to keep it up for the rest of the season.
It is up, and it is good. And South Dakota has shocked North Dakota State.
The game against South Dakota was a game Bison players don't necessarily want to forget, but one they want to learn from.
And South Dakota came out with a great game plan, and they executed it perfectly, and we kind of dropped the ball.
Something wasn't clicking from the sideline, and I could just tell that there was an off feeling, and I know that we needed to fix it throughout this last week. And this last week, our motto was to win every day of practice, and we came out there and literally took the bull by the horns and just attacked the process.
And it paid off, too. The Bison ran for 240 yards last Saturday against Indiana State.
I thought the guys in general up front really dominated the line of scrimmage. We talked about running the ball 45 times, and we were able to get 57 runs.
The Rams had question marks surrounding them after the South Dakota game, a game where starting center Austin Kunert didn't play because of an elbow injury suffered against Northern Iowa. Kunert returned to the lineup against Indiana State, and things went back to normal.
He's just got so much game experience and does a great job of calling all our line games. That sometimes we take for granted. I did how good Jesse Hines really was of making all the line calls and stuff. So it was good for us to have Austin back.
The Bison will have their hands full again with Southern Illinois, a team who has gone through a transition on the defensive side. Head coach Dale Lennon is no longer calling plays for the defense, and they are doing some different things this season to confuse opposing offenses.
You still have some 3-down stuff, which would be, kind of an SIU staple, but they're running some 4-down stuff as well. They're running what we call double eagle, which is out of a 3-down stuff. They've been in, I think, 3 or 4 games, 3 or 4 different looks.
All right, one more break, and we'll be taking you right up to kickoff. Get your snacks and beverages refreshed now. We'll be giving you our keys to today's games, plus we'll check in on the weather. It could be a factor today. All that is next.
The tone is just we're Bison defense. This is Bison pride. We got to take it, and we got to take everything in stride and keep going, moving forward.
Welcome back to the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show. We are less than 9 minutes of getting you out there. You just heard from Brian Schatz after the Indiana State game talking Bison pride. And we'll tell you this, no need to change the channel as we are just 8 minutes and 45 seconds away from handing it off to our crew at the stadium in Carbondale, North Dakota State, Southern Illinois, with Brian Shawn and Lee Timmerman in the booth. Beth Houle on the sidelines. We're going to go back out to Carbondale in just a moment, but first, let's check in with Storm Team meteorologist Robert Hahn to give us the latest forecast for this game. Hey, Robert.
Hey, yeah, it looks like things will actually not be too bad during the game. We did have a few showers make their way through Carbondale at Saluki Stadium there on the south side of Carbondale, and it looks like we may get the entire game in without a whole lot of rain. You have those showers move on through. Looking off to the west, there is more rain as you look up towards the St. Louis and Rolla area, but I think that's going to hold off as we look at the hour-by-hour forecast. We'll put this into motion as we head through the rest of the afternoon and on into this evening. Rain will approach Carbondale by the end of the game, but I think it's going to hold on off. I think for the most part it'll be cloudy skies, perhaps a few isolated showers. Then as we go through the evening hours, a few showers will move on through. Game day forecast again for Saluki Stadium, and kickoff coming up here in just a couple of minutes. I think there will be maybe a little bit of drizzle, an isolated shower, very light, but otherwise some cloudy skies and temperatures steady to slowly falling as we head through the game. So all in all, not too bad. Certainly not a washout, but may have 1 or 2 sprinkles or showers as we head through the game.
Thank you very much, Robert. Obviously, it could be fascinating. If this game is close at the end, does it come down where maybe the kicking game gets influenced by the weather? Obviously, we will see. But first, we're going to talk about some keys to the game, take you back out to Carbondale, and hear what Beth Houle has to say. Beth?
Hey guys, this week, once again, I think all eyes are on Easton Stick. Coaches were very impressed with him last week. They said that he managed the game really well. His teammates saying he held the huddle incredibly well. He had over a 60% efficiency when it came to first and second downs. But this week he's going to need to pass the ball. There's some film on Easton Stick now, and I assure you, Southern Illinois is aware of how well he can run the football. He's going to have to hit those wide receivers. Tim Polasek saying that this group is not necessarily known for dropping the ball over the middle and going deep, but SIU has a couple of weak cornerbacks that they might need to execute against, and that might prove beneficial for this Bison football team. All eyes on Easton Stick, though, to see if he can have another strong performance as this starting quarterback. Chris?
Little believer in the background there. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it. Where are you now? I was getting down.
DJ's like, who are you guys talking about? All right, let's get to our keys of the game. Alex, what do you have?
Yeah, my keys are simple. Hang on to the ball. The Bison, if they want to win, they need to hang on to the ball. Not just limiting the turnovers, which the Bison are -3 in turnovers this year. And opponents have scored 40 points on 11 Bison turnovers this season. But it also means for Easton Stick in the offense to keep the Saluki offense off the field. They need to keep the ball, build on their time of possession advantage. If the Bison can do this, it is a happy, happy flight home. Hang on to the ball.
Amen to that. DJ, what do you have for keys to the game, sir?
A well-known fact out there that Southern Illinois leads the nation in blocked kicks and field goals. So they have 7 in the nation. Bison special teams, don't let them get any blocks in this. Also, I think the Saluki defense isn't as good as it has been in the years. The Bison need to rush for, I think they're going to rush for over 300 to win it, but at least 250 to win this game. So, that's what we need.
You got to give DJ kudos, though. He called the first 100-yard rusher last week.
Hey, don't forget that. It could happen again this week, too.
Maybe running bills?
3 bills.
Whoa, okay, Mr. DJ. My keys to the game are this. Number one, the key to this entire football game is going to be time of possession. If they win that by a large amount like they did last week, they will win this football game. The best defense against this explosive offense is obviously a great offense. Pretty hard for Ioannidis to score when Easton Stick has the football in his hands. And the other thing that's going to be critical, guys, is they've got to put Easton Stick in 3rd and short. You start putting him in 3rd and long, you watch. Lennon's going to just let his guys line up and tee off and come after this young man.
I'll say this. Easton Stick went 9 of 20 passing last weekend, and we all saw, 9 of 20, and he had a pick. He didn't get much help from his receivers. He had a couple guys fall down. He had a couple balls that were good that should have been caught that weren't caught. He overthrew a couple guys, but 9 of 20 isn't all that bad. And so you can see he could throw the football.
45%, man. What are you talking about? It's not that bad.
But it wasn't just his fault, is what I'm saying.
I understand that, but I'm telling you, this week they're going to put 8-9 guys in the box almost every play. They're going to make him throw and tee up on this guy.
He still runs that 34. I mean, that's what they've always done.
And the thing that I'm most concerned about is what are they going to do? Because what Leonard will do is he'll have actually the defensive lineman guys, all 4 of them, stand up at times, trying to obviously screw up protection schemes, blocking schemes. Does Easton Stick need to give enough reps this week to understand how to call out people to make sure that Coonert and his O-lineman are making the correct calls at the line?
Well, and that's the thing. Coonert came back last week, and he had a big impact. And I think Coach said, with as much zero nose that Indiana State played, so the center wasn't covered for the Bison O-line, with as much zero nose as they played, Austin did a great job of calling it out and keeping the protection for Easton Stick.
I agree that, but you start talking about outside linebackers and cornerback blitzes. It's pretty hard for Coonert when he's down there to see those kind of things coming, and that's where Easton's got to have the eyes for that.
The best thing for a young QB, the screen game, to those that wheel route, be looking for that. If they start blitzing.
All right, let's get to the Bobcat Heavy Lifting Report.
Let's do that. Let's get to our Bobcat Heavy Lifting player of the game. And this week, it's going to be Nick DeLuca as the middle linebacker. DeLuca is going to need to keep his eyes on Southern's quarterback, Mark Ioannidis. Eyes on Ioannidis. See what I did there? He's a quarterback who likes to run. We've seen what running QBs can do to this Bison defense. It's not good. DeLuca led the team in tackles last week against Indiana State. The Bison need him to play the same way this week. And it seems like an impossible task, but the entire defense needs to figure out how to slow down this Saluki speedy offense.
And here's the thing. The Salukis have only given up 4 quarterback sacks the entire year. Obviously, one is because Ioannidis got great feet. But the other thing, if you watch offensive film on these guys, I mean, he's like Tom Brady. Ball hits his hand, and boom, it's out to the running back. Boom, it's out to the split end.
And they're shifty, too, like you talked about. They've got a lot of motion coming across. So there's a lot of options for Ioannidis and what he wants to do. He can hand the ball off. He can throw the ball. He can keep it himself. There's a lot of options built into this offense.
And that puts a lot of stress on a defense, especially with defensive ends being hurt. It's going to be fascinating to see what Entz does. If they try to come after this guy, I think he's got enough reps now. He can obviously throw it over the top. Let me share with you some stunning stats before we get into the quarterback comparison graphic. Against Indiana, an FBS school, Mark Ioannidis, the quarterback, how many total yards did he have in one game? 517 yards from one player against an FBS school. This guy, the fortunate thing for him is his defense is horrible. But you can see here, guy puts up a ton of yards through the air, puts a ton of yards up, obviously on the ground, 6 rushing touchdowns. I mean, those are Carson Wentz type of numbers. The big question, obviously, is his defense going to be able to hold up? Now let's take a quick look at our guy, Easton Stick, after his first start. Again, had a very, very solid performance for a first start. First game since high school, 148 rushing yards combined, 2 rushing touchdowns. The big thing he's got to see today, and I think the coaches, as you talked about, DJ, screen passes, hitch routes, quick slants, give the kids some confidence through the air.
Yeah, I think that you're going to see Easton Stick only get better from here on out. He's got to have his reps in practice with the wide receivers. It's just going to be Easton's game to win. So if he can come out there and run the football, we're not going to see 17 rushing attempts. We're not going to see that, but what we will have is probably a good game from Easton Stick here. And we lost DJ.
Yeah, DJ, who are you now?
I'm the Bison D. I'm going to show up. We're back, just like Indiana State, South Dakota State. The South Dakota game's behind us. We're back this week.
My gosh.
42-28 Bison.
42-28. Wow. You don't even know what Mastis is.
Whoa. We got to back up for a second here. 300 yards rushing and 42 points up on the board.
I think the Bison O is going to get rolling. The defense is going to play well enough down the stretch, boys.
I think you lost your mind when you put the mask on. 42-20 is big. That's a big number.
About.
But holding this Indiana State, this Southern Illinois offense to just 20 points, that would be a feat in itself. I think if the Bison can keep them below 3-4 touchdowns, they're going to have success.
They'll win the football game. Yeah, they'll win the football game if they do that. The big question is, how are they going to do it? And my concern as well is if this thing becomes a track meet, which again, if I'm Dale Lennon and I'm going to blitz the heck out of Easton Stick and you want to try to go over the top of Easton, go for it. I don't have a problem with that because then you can score. We can get my offense back on the field. And we'll go score some more points. DJ Coulter, I think. Alex Egan, dressing for white. I'm Chris Fowler. Let's get you out to the game in the booth with Lee Timmerman, Brian Shawn, and Beth Poole.